Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then hi, my name is Erica, and today I'm going to be reading a few passages from Shane Burcaw's first book, Laughing at My Nightmare, because in my original video where I reviewed his books, I realized I didn't highlight these specific instances of ableism in it, so I want to do that. And of course, I'm not going to be able to cover every instance because there were quite a lot in this book, but I want to share two of them that I found to be ableist. And also, a lot of times when I do videos where I'm reading, I get comments saying, I can't understand you when you read because my stutter gets worse when I'm reading for whatever reason. So I just ask that instead of leaving those comments, because I realize I'm hard to understand, please just put on the captions, because I do go in and edit the captions. So yeah, the first passage I am going to be reading it starts on page 82. It's the bottom of 82 into page 83, and it is chapter 15, Cripple Camp. Okay, so I am going to be reading. Actually, I'm going to start on page 83. At that age, nothing made me more comfortable, more uncomfortable than being surrounded by other people in wheelchairs. I desperately wanted to show the world that I was normal despite my disability. Looking back, I think this frame of mind was further solidified by my week at summer camp. Sorry, my cat just meowed. And there was another kid at this camp who had the same exact disease as me. He shall call him Tim. Well, I'm glad he gave this kid a pseudonym, especially since he goes on to bash this guy. But okay, I'm going to try my best to be as honest and fair as I can when I describe Tim. But you have to understand, during this week of camp, Tim was my arch fucking nemesis. I hated Tim. Today I realized I probably didn't give him enough of a chance, and my opinion of him was shaped by my 13-year-old mind, so there is a good chance that Tim is actually a very cool dude, and doubt it. However, this was certainly not the case back then. We will get to Tim in a little bit. Okay, so I know he says, Tim might have been cool, but then, of course, he goes on to be doubt it. But here's the thing, I realize that this is Shane's sense of humor, but if your humor is at the expense of other people, it's not really funny, in my opinion. And also, one joke I wanted to make is, although the title of this book is Laughing at My Nightmare, I think of it more as laughing at everybody else so I can feel better about myself. And I forgot to make that joke. And now it falls flat when you try to force it. But okay, let's keep going. When I arrived on the first day of camp, the first thing I noticed was that all of the other kids were or acted younger than me, which instantly gave me second thoughts about letting my parents leave me there for a whole week. I could smell the immaturity in the air. While my parents got me signed in with the camp officials, a bunch of wheelchaired kids chased each other around wielding balloons hordes. A few of them were young enough that balloons horde fighting was an acceptable and normal thing to do. However, a couple of them were at least as old as me, if not older, and it bewildered me how they were getting such a huge kick out of pretending to stab other kids with their balloon swords. I remember wanting to scream at them, it's a balloon. It won't hurt if you stab each other. What are you guys even doing? I immediately disliked every kid at the camp. Okay, so I don't know about you, but when I went to summer camp, I went to have a good time. And it seems like Shane went there to judge other people and feel better about himself. Like, let people play with balloons if that's what makes them happy. Another observation I made in the first few minutes of arriving was that almost none of these kids had shoes on. Some had only socks. Most just let their bare feet flap around in the breeze. All of them had severely atrophied ankles like me, but I wore splints that held my feet straight during the day, and over my splints I wore normal shoes. I wore shoes because I often went out in public, where wearing shoes is the socially acceptable behavior. Additionally, I was well aware that my atrophied feet look weird to other people. Gross, atrophied feet hanging out for everyone to see were just another reason for people to be hesitant about engaging me as a normal human being. I started to feel extremely uncomfortable as it dawned on me that none of these kids understood his concept. My young mind started racing. This meant that these kids probably didn't have too many friends, which meant they probably didn't understand how to have normal human interactions, which was why they were all acting so immature. It all clicked in my mind. Look, I feel completely fucked up for thinking this way and for judging all of them so quickly. But if I am going to be 100% honest with all of you, I have to admit that my judgments were actually pretty accurate. Okay, so Shane, I realize if you want to feel badly about your own body and your own feet, that's fine, but please don't project that onto other people. And this is what I mean when I say that Shane allows his internalized ableism to affect other disabled people. So it's not enough that Shane is just insecure about his own body. He also wants to police other people and be like, how dare you not wear shoes at summer camp? I mean, come on, people. This is summer camp. Why are you policing what other people are doing at summer camp? Lighten up, buddy. But yeah. Am I saying that if you're in a wheelchair and you don't wear shoes, that you are an immature social outcast? No, of course not. Unfortunately, the kids at this camp ingrained in my mind the idea that physical appearance has a big effect on how others treat me. I hate to say it, but these kids made me understand how easy it is to look at someone in a wheelchair and write them off as socially awkward because he just doesn't look normal. Okay, so what if somebody is both physically disabled and socially awkward? Does that mean that you're a bad person and you deserve to be made fun of? I don't think so. And now I'm going to be reading on page 86, and this, again, he's returning to talk badly about this guy, Tim. The fact that Tim had the same disease as me was really what made me hate him. I felt like I knew him better than anyone at the camp. I knew his SMA, which is spinal muscular atrophy, did not affect his brain and social skills. So why was he acting like such a tool? A tiny voice in the back of my mind kept saying, "You're not so different from Tim yourself." Okay, so I guess Shane doesn't realize this, but people can have more than one disability at once. So maybe this guy Tim, and of course I don't know his situation, I have no idea who Tim is, but like, maybe he is autistic and has spinal muscular atrophy, or maybe he has an intellectual disability. So Shane just assuming he knows everything about this kid because they have the same disability is not the flex he thinks it is. Like, just because you have the same disability doesn't mean you know everything about someone. And I feel like Shane is the type of person, at least from what he's written in this book, to just label people and put people into boxes to be more comfortable with himself. Because if life is more like a Venn diagram instead of like boxes, then the waters get muddy, and then you realize you may be just like the people you look down upon, which is real life. Because real life, human beings are not like, we don't fit in these perfect little boxes. And I know I went on this weird metaphor thing, sorry. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, I'm gonna be done with this crippled camp chapter just because, for time's sake. But oh my god, my dog's barking. Okay, so now I'm gonna be reading a passage from chapter 17, Fun on the Short Bus. Luckily, the funniest things in life are the abnormal. Throughout middle school, I was forced to ride the short bus simply because they were the only buses that had wheelchair ramps. Everyone knows that these short bus is for kids with mental disabilities. Many people do not know that short buses are also for kids like me. Okay, so why do you have to distance yourself from people with intellectual disabilities? Like, in the disabled community, there is this pattern of physically disabled people trying to distance themselves from people with intellectual disabilities. Like, well, my body might be affected by this, but not my brain. And it's like, we're just hurting people the way able-bodied society hurts us. It's like, why do you want to continue a cycle of oppression against somebody else just so you can feel like you get a leg up. Okay. And now he talks about this kid Adam and how he apparently doesn't wash and he's proud of that. And this is on page 99, by the way. And then there was Adam, or as he called himself, Skunk. I kid you not. This kid was so proud of his unbelievable stench that he referred to himself as Skunk. The bus driver, Jim, who knew how to joke around with the kids in a way that wouldn't upset them, greeted Adam every morning by saying, "Hey, Adam, have you taken a shower yet?" Adam responded by laughing like a hyena that had just taken a hit of helium, and then screaming, "Skunks don't take showers, they groom their tails." And then, I can't read this part because YouTube won't like it, but then Adam touches himself on the bus. And apparently Shane thought he had to tell the whole world about this. And now I'm gonna flip a few pages, and I'm on page 103. Last but not least was Brandon, a kid who lived in a neighborhood that was basically on top of a mountain. And therefore, the roads we had to take to get to his house were very steep. And the temperature inside the bus on this very hot and humid day felt like we were sitting in an oven while we waited for the rest of the kids to board at the end of the day. Brandon, who was rather large and somewhat clumsy, got on the bus and plopped himself down in the front row. Brandon was in his early 20s, but because of his mental disability, he behaved like a young child, which is why he was allowed to remain at our high school after his senior year. He also smelled like he always had a large pile of poop in his pants, which might have been because he always had a large pile of poop in his pants. Okay, so as you can see here, Shane seems to not think very highly of people with intellectual disabilities. He seems to think they're unsanitary and they're immature and embarrassing to be around. And he felt that it was so funny that he was going to put this in his book and make money off of making fun of other people. So when I say that Shane has lateral ableism, that is what I mean. He is ableist against people with disabilities other than his so that he can feel better about himself. And hopefully those passages illustrated my point. Although I think some people may be committed to misunderstanding this and just defending Shane no matter what, and I guess that's fine. But that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something or if you enjoyed it, if you enjoy hearing me read, then please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have not already and you would like to see more of my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.